Guys, welcome back for another video. Today I've got a review of another CarPlay screen. This one from a company called ZHNN. This is a combination touchscreen at 6.3 inches with CarPlay and Android Auto plus TPMS. Now this is in the mid-budget, I'll call it, range. It certainly has competition in its price range. So this is going to be all about how good is this screen, how good is the processor, how easy is it to use, because it doesn't have any dash cam functionality. And it looks like this model is called the L300. We just have a quick spec sheet here. Instructions should be real self-explanatory, probably just how to pair. We're going to measure the batteries, make sure they're delivered in good condition, show you how to change them, and anything else about the unit. Let's pop it out real quick. It is almost exactly the same size and thickness as my iPhone Pro Max. Got a protective film on here. Screen looks absolutely beautiful. Bezels are a little chunky on the sides, better on the top and bottom. Very lightweight. Seriously, it looks just like my phone. Let me pull it out real quick. That's pretty cool. I like how they're really designing these new ones to look very modern instead of a old, clunky. Pretty much anybody in the past, say 2 to 3 years ago, they were copying the old dedicated GPS nav devices. And now they're copying phones. Much better decision for modern bikes. On the back, love it. We have a detachable but standard ball mount. So that is going to make it super easy to mount anywhere on your bike with a RAM system. This is exactly how every single one should do it. And then we have one connection here that's going to be for power. We have our power cable itself. It is a 3-wire. This will be going into my Fuseblock, and I'll put a link down below if you want to see exactly how to wire your bike for use with the Fuseblock and any kind of devices like this. We've got the TPMS units. They are the old style, so you're definitely going to want a metal valve stem. And we've got a tool for opening them, and then lock nuts. You don't really need them to keep them on the bike. They can be a deterrent for theft because you generally need to put a little wrench on them to loosen them before you can pop these off. But we'll open these up and test the batteries. We have a built-in bar clamp mount if you don't already have a RAM ball mount for wherever you want to mount it on your bike. And then a nice included spring-mounted RAM adapter, so you can position it anywhere you need. And then lastly, a little screwdriver. This will be for opening, assumably, a door on the unit and a zip tie, although I'm not sure why you would want to get into the unit. This may be something standard. A lot of times these are produced in factories for different brands and they will spec different features for them. So this might be produced by somebody else with dash cams, so you may need to open a card door. Let's see if there's anything on here. Yeah, so there is a card door down here. This is simply going to be not used for this one. Maybe for a firmware update or something like that, but I'll pop it open just to verify there's no card in there, and that's what that tool would be for. Yep, no card in the slot. Totally normal. All right, let's go install it on the bike. Got everything wired in for power into my little Fuseblock. I'll put a link to that video down below if you want to see how to wire that in real quick. And yes, there's a cover for it. Just got the positive, trigger, and ground plugged in. And then we just have the one wire coming out of the unit for power. And you just run the power wire from the Fuseblock or the battery, wherever you're connecting, up to your mount. Got a gripe about the extension they're using here. The bolt they're using to run through is too long. It's bottoming out on the handle, but what they've done is add extra washers here to try to make up for that. It's fully tightened, but because their ball is hard plastic, not rubber, this is an actual RAM ball, and it's rubber, so it grips. And this side isn't moving, but plastic on plastic does, because there's not enough tension in here. You would either need another washer or to shorten that bolt with a Dremel or something, or replace it with a shorter bolt. I'm just going to use one of my better mounts for now. Now we'll pop open the TPMS sensors using their handy wrench and test the battery voltage. We're looking for well above 3 volts for a nice full charged battery. And these are using the CR1632. And we do have just over 3 volts on both of them. So they will function, but fresh ones will last you certainly longer. All right, let's fire it up for the first time. See how long it takes to boot. Go through the nav. Got a nice generic motorcycle. That's a fast boot. Nice fast boot. So we got our connections here for CarPlay and Android Auto. I'll do that in a moment so I can keep doing the video. Screen off, does that just blank it? It does. Does a tap bring it back? It does. I like that. I absolutely love a screen off function. That's the first time I've seen it as a nice big button on the screen. That's pretty cool. The bike almost looks like an FJR there. It's the right color at least. Let's see what's in settings. We've got theme. What does that do? We've got auto. Oh, dark. Dark and light. Auto is I'm assuming, light sensitive mode. I'll have to see if that actually works or if it's just some type of preset. I didn't notice any light sensor, but we'll check it out. I'm not sure why it would dim in auto and be... I'm really not sure what auto would do because it's not just brightness. You know, the theme is the light or dark, not just the brightness of the screen. Anyway, we've got a slider here for the overall brightness. Ooh, that is really slow. I hope the rest of it is better responsiveness than that. I mean, yow, you can see how long it takes there to respond. Let's just go to full brightness. It looks definitely bright enough, but I'm just here in my garage with a whole bunch of LED lighting. It is a full-on hot, near 90s Florida day out, so we'll be able to tell how it does and if it overheats and starts to dim in the sun. Languages, probably just a standard set. Yep. Let's go back. Set time. So there's no GPS on this. I don't know if it would auto sync with CarPlay. Bluetooth. Nothing connected yet. I haven't done the phone with CarPlay. That'll automatically populate. What's in system? We got a reboot, factory reset. Can we change the logo? Sometimes they're... No, only got one. Internal, external. So it looks like you might be able to load a logo. I'll check the manual real quick to see if there's any kind of specs, but it looks like you can load a logo at least onto your card, and that's just for that flash screen. Completely unimportant to me, but maybe to some. And then the standard information here. We do have an over-the-air upgrade, but how do we do that? Okay, we've got a QR code. I was gonna say, how do you do that? By not connecting to Wi-Fi. Usually over-the-air means this will connect directly to a cloud server and update itself. Connect the car's Wi-Fi and download upgrade package to the car's device. This is kind of generic terming. Half of it appears to be in German. Not sure. Let me run through this real quick though, and we'll see. All right, so that was a dead end. It just took me to a bare web directory with one firmware from almost 9 months ago. So it is what it is, but it's good to know it has some functionality if they ever come out with a different firmware. Okay, I guess the only thing left is to connect CarPlay. Hold on. And there we go. I'm gonna shut it off real quick because I wanna see how fast it will auto connect and bring up CarPlay. Should automatically connect once you have any connection to either connectivity. Boot logo, very fast home screen boot. It's probably gonna kick my video off here. Hang on. Let's see how long it takes. Usually 5-10 seconds is max. There we go. So yep, that's on par. We've got our button to go back to the home screen here. And then once you're connected, all you do is tap here to go to your CarPlay. Let's go into maps real quick and just see how fast the processor is for moving around and zooming. Very fluid there, no problem. And a nice zoom out. Let's go back into title, see how fast things pop in for that. Very quickly. As fast as it gets. Awesome, no problem. So yes, once it connects to your CarPlay at least, I don't know about Android Auto, it automatically sets your date and time. Let's tap here and we should have settings, there we go, for setting all of our TPMS information. You can set your high and low pressure alarms. Does it have temperature? Yes, temperature. Oh, it has a voltage alarm. That's weird. High voltage alarm. Can't say that's a problem with motorcycles, but we have a low voltage alarm. Can't say alternators or stators going bad is really an issue either. More of an old car thing. So we can change our pressure here. I want Fahrenheit and PSI. There we go. Make sure I I don't understand why voltage alarm is even in here. That should be pressure alarm. You know what? Maybe this is a mislabel. I bet that's a mislabel. It's high pressure and low pressure for the tires. So that's probably just a bug, a translation error, whoever made this software. Oh, okay, so we gotta pair these first. It says pairing, they are connected to the bike. Not sure if I have to do anything else. Just says pairing. Sometimes you have to be moving to even have them pair, but not usually. Usually they're already prepared in the box. Tap it again, no. I'm gonna unscrew them one at a time. Sometimes they need to see a pressure difference to know which one is pairing, so I'll do the front one first. And yep, that's all it took. Just go into pairing, then screw them on. After about 30 seconds, it comes up. It just pops up this warning because it thought it was losing air as you're screwing it on. No big deal there. That will probably disappear after we reboot again. Let's go ahead and do that just to clear that. I should have really close to correct pressures in there. Been about a month since I aired up front. Could be that the limits aren't correctly set. Now that could be a stored warning. Carplay took over my video. Let's go back in there real quick. So we got that air leakage. What's it saying we're at? Oh, I love that it has temperature. So it's showing just under 40 PSI on both. That's normal. That's correct. I mean, I did lose some air a couple times. I switched them out. And let's assume that these are pressure warnings. Those are definitely high and low enough not to trigger anything. Anyway, that might clear itself with a little bit of running. All right, that should do it. Let's get on the road and see how the screen does in the heat.
So without dash cams or any other special features to review, this will be a fairly short video. It's 86 degrees, direct Florida sun. I've been running up and down here. It's heated up as much as it's gonna get. Anywhere you live is not apt to be any worse than this, and it is holding full brightness. So no problems at all with the screen. Touchscreen with gloves, still fully responsive. Let's go back to home. I haven't checked the tire pressure. There we go. So it all reset. That warning's gone. Did just have to run it a little bit. Absolutely love it. If you're looking for a device that just has a really good phone-like size and CarPlay and TPMS, but without the other features, maybe you don't need them, maybe you don't want them, this is certainly a good option. Link is down below. Check it out. And stay tuned, I've got yet more coming right up. Got another mid-grade and another brand new top-of-the-line unit. See you next time.